7 Steps to Build Good Habits. Hi, my name is Dr. Meghana Dikshit. I am the brain rewiring expert and author of the book You Matter. And I want to talk to you today about how can you build good habits and not just build them but maintain them. Now, what actually is a habit? If you understand a habit or its definition, it's a state of being. It's the conditioning of your brain, of your body. What comes to you naturally is a habit. Your brain is functioning on automation. And in that automation, whatever the responses and behaviors that come up is a habit. Now, when you understand what is a habit, you got to also understand that why do you have some good habits and why do you have some unhealthy habits which you feel that, oh, I don't want to keep this habit, but I keep going back to it. Like procrastination, smoking a cigarette, or maybe, overthinking. Any of these is also a habit. Wasting a lot of time. And you probably are uncomfortable with these unhealthy habits and you feel that why am I eating that piece of cake or that packet of chips when it is not good for me and I know it. So what happened when you build this habit is something that you need to understand first. Habits are nothing else but your brain's mechanism to make you more efficient, to cope with the situation and provide you an efficient immediate solution for a problem. Now, when you build that habit of eating that cake or the chips when you're stressed, it happened because in that moment, when that stress came, you didn't know how to deal with it and you came up, in that moment you had limited choices to deal with that stress. And the first thing that the brain saw is something like eating a chocolate or maybe eating some sweet. And the moment you did that, it kind of gave you energy in your body. And in that energy, when this adrenaline and cortisol was released in the body, you felt that you can fight with that situation, you can run away from that situation, or you can deal with that situation effectively. And this is how pretty much everything you built as a habit, whether it's smoking, whether it's procrastinating, not doing the work on time, whether it's keeping, pending tasks as it is and thinking and watching a YouTube video or going on a social media on Netflix. All of this is developed to avoid something or to fight with something. There are the habits, the unhealthy habits that you are looking at that point. Right? Today, probably you're looking at these are unhealthy habits. And one point of time when you developed them, they were the most easy and effective solution that your brain came up with. In short, your brain is always trying to conserve the energy so that it can be utilized if there is any sort of a danger in your space. And that's why your brain builds some habits. Now, first let's understand the difference between a habit and a routine. The difference between a habit and a routine is the consciousness, is the awareness. Routine could be practicing gratitude or writing a journal or maybe exercising or maybe drinking a green juice. Whereas habit could be if you have a habit of when you're stressed picking up a cigarette or probably picking up that cake or maybe watching a series or a video. So pretty much what happens unconsciously is a habit and when you do something consciously is a routine. Now when the routines can become habits, understand something that certain things that you're trying to build in your life, they don't build overnight. So if suppose you are building a healthy routine in terms of drinking a green smoothie every single day when you wake up. Now initially it's a everyday deliberate effort. Now the day it becomes like you woke up and you didn't have to think about making a smoothie, but you automatically went in the kitchen, you put all your ingredients, you whipped it up together and you made a green smoothie and you drank it. All of this happened without your thinking. That means your routine has turned into a habit. Now remember, any routine to turn into a habit, there are 3 stages. First is thinking stage, then there is a doing stage, and then there is a being stage. Now if you understand this, let's take an example of driving a car. First you think of driving the car Then you get into the car behind the wheel with probably a coach or an expert driver teaching you how to drive the car. And when you do this action repeatedly, like you drive the car every single day, that becomes a part of your being. And now when you sit behind the wheel, in all the chaos, you don't have to think about accelerator, brake, gear, etc. It's automatically happening. Same thing pretty much goes with any habit that you're trying to build. A routine turns into a habit from this thinking, doing to being stage. And when it reaches the being stage, you remember that you have mastered that habit. Now, any habit to form, there are 4 stages, or you can call them as a habit loop. The first stage is a trigger or a cue. The second stage is craving. The third stage is response, and fourth stage is a reward. Let me give an example. Suppose you're walking on the road and there's a coffee shop, and you're passing that coffee shop and you smell an aroma of the coffee beans. That's a cue or a trigger. Now immediately your body, your brain starts asking you, oh wow, I wish if I could have a coffee. It's a motivational force that drives you to respond to that coffee shop and walking into the coffee shop and then order the coffee. The moment you order the coffee, you pay for the coffee, you get the coffee, and when you drink that coffee is a reward. So any habit goes into this loop. It starts with a cue, then goes into the craving, then becomes a response, and then turns into the reward. Now I want you to choose that one habit that you want to change in your life. Suppose it's a habit of constantly looking in the mobile, and you are trying to change that habit where you don't want to look into the mobile. Now you got to see what exactly is happening in this case. If suppose you are someone who's looking for a cue on the mobile, would be a pop-up or notification, a message from Instagram, a message from YouTube, something popped up on your home screen. You saw that pop-up. That's a cue. Now there is internally, you started feeling, the craving started coming. Oh, somebody has responded to my picture. There is something that come up as a notification. I must look for it. What is it? I don't want to miss out. I'm going to miss out if I miss this. Is it a like? Is it a comment? Is it a question? What is it? Now the craving comes, the response is to reach out to the mobile. You picked up the mobile and you open the mobile. The moment you open the mobile, you see that notification and that whole pop-up comes up that somebody has commented on your post. There's a relief. So if you want to do work on these habits that are not helpful to you, you got to first start thinking of what are the cues, what are the triggers that compel you to get that reward. Now, if suppose you're thinking about quitting the looking at the mobile habit, okay? So what can you do to make that cue, the trigger? The first thing you can do is remove all the notifications. When you are working focused, keep the phone away, and not away as in just 2 feet away from you, but keep the phone away in another room probably. Or maybe what you can do is even if you get triggered that you want to check that mobile, then you make that mobile screen black and white. Or have a password which is so difficult to type that may take 2-3 attempts for you to get through. Now you see, the more your cue and your craving is going to be difficult, the more your response and reward will be unappealing. So if you want to change any habit, then the first thing that you need to do is make your cue and your craving more and more difficult to you. Now let's understand what are the 7 ways that you can build good habits. First, eliminate triggers. For instance, what are some of your triggers? Like maybe it's the place, maybe it's the person, maybe it's a situation. What are those things that are actually triggering you to that bad habit or the habit that's not helpful to you? Let me give an example. Like suppose you are addicted to shopping. You have a habit of unnecessary shopping. So avoid shopping malls. Avoid going on the online shopping websites. Or maybe you're trying to quit smoking. Avoid going on the smoking breaks with your friends. Avoid going with the people, places that are compelling you or pushing you towards feeling triggered. Now, the trigger could also be internal stress. So then, if people and things are not your trigger, then what is your internal stress? What are the thoughts? What are the behaviors? What are the feelings that you have? Or what is actually the stress that you're dealing with? And how can you start working on dealing with your stress effectively and more resourcefully so that it doesn't trigger you to go into the habits that are unnecessary and unresourceful for you? Second, reduce cravings. Now understand, why do you crave? You crave for certain things just to change your internal state of being. By picking up a cigarette, you're actually trying to relieve the stress. So what are the healthier options to feel more relaxed in that state? Maybe taking a nice cold shower, or maybe getting a foot massage. If you're looking for relaxation, what are the things that can help you to relax yourself, to change that internal state, so automatically your craving for smoking goes down? Third, make a negative habit difficult. Suppose you have a habit of staying up late in the night and that affects your productivity. So then start working early in the morning. What will happen is, when you start your day early, by the time in the evening you get exhausted with the work, automatically staying up late will become difficult. And you will know the next day you will not have much time, or you will not have the energy to perform well. You may start sleeping earlier than what you were doing before. Uncover the root cause of that bad habit. Now, suppose you have a habit of stressing out too much and then having a lot of coffee. Maybe you can look at, why do you get stressed? What are some of the coping tools you need in your space to deal with that stress effectively? Do you need to practice some mindfulness techniques or self-care techniques? Or do you need to take some breaks so that you become better at coping with the stress that you're dealing with? Remember, stress is inevitable. It's a part of our life. Building the capabilities and developing the tools inside you to cope up with the stress is a better and effective way to get rid of that bad habit. Fifth, start developing some healthy routines. For instance, when you wake up, maybe you can have a fruit or a vegetable juice. If you continue to build some good routines like that, eventually these good routines will turn into some positive habits. It'll help you to override the negative habits that are actually troubling you. Sixth, swap a good habit to a bad habit. If suppose you have a habit of having a cup of tea in the night, or maybe having some warm drink, instead of having that tea or coffee in the night, you can swap it to having a lavender tea or a chamomile tea, which is more soothing. Sometimes we want to drink something warm, that's the habit. It's not necessary, it has to be a caffeinated drink. When you try switching on to something better, something healthier, maybe instead of eating that cake, trying a apple cinnamon, something like that, which will be a more productive and a more resourceful or healthier habit for you, will be much better way to build new habits. Seventh, build intrinsic motivation. Every time you are building a habit, if you're building it for something outside, maybe wanting to make more money, maybe wanting to have a better status or a better respect or something, if your trigger or your motivation is an external motivation, it may not last for long. So build an intrinsic motivation, an internal desire and a drive to become a better person. Suppose if you change the habit of smoking, how will it impact the next person in your life, a person whom you really love? What is your deeper desire? What is your why for quitting that bad habit and building a new one? So that why is very critical, and that why is your intrinsic motivation. And this intrinsic motivation will take you really long way to not just build a good habit, but also maintain it. You'll remind yourself always about that why. Now, when you are working on yourself to build these habits, you also got to understand one big thing in your life is to measure the progress. Because remember, whatever is measured is improved. If you don't measure how you're progressing, you'll probably not improve in your life. You can test out various things to measure your progress. Maybe you can start writing down how you're doing on your habit. Maybe you can have an accountability partner. You can have a conversation with that friend. Or maybe you can post it on your social media. And you can make it more public and more obvious to opposite people, because see, we are very accountable people. When we put out there, when everybody knows about you're doing something, you become more conscious of maintaining it. So definitely make sure that you write a progress journal or a progress log when you're building a new habit. So if you like this video, do give me a thumbs up, share it with people, those who are really looking to build good habits, and tell me who's your accountability partner going to be for you to use these 7 steps to build that good habit that you're trying for very, very long. Let me know in the comment box. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please make sure that you hit that button to subscribe and also turn on your notifications by hitting on the bell icon.